big complaints I hear about the Strymon Iridium and a lot of amp modelers is that there's no FX loop. So there's a couple ways to solve this, okay, and we're gonna go through them right now. What you just heard right now is the Iridium in normal mode with the IR is on, and you have all the modulation coming after it. A lot of people don't like that. They want all those effects to come before like the speaker sim, right? And an amp, you'd have it before the power amp stage. Prior to the creation of effects loops, all of your modulation would be going into a preamp stage into the front of your amp, which means that all your modulation, your delays, your reverbs would be getting distorted and overdriven. So you'd have like an overdriven delay, an overdriven chorus, not the other way around. And as a side note, Eddie Van Halen did a phaser into the front of his amp. It didn't bother him that he didn't have an FX loop, but it might bother you. And sometimes it does bother me, but a lot of things bother me. The first way to solve it is if you're in a studio situation and you have an IR loader in your computer. You take your Strymon Iridium, you unplug it, and you plug it back in holding down the on button. And then once that blinks, you turn this until it goes into amber. Amber means that the IR is disengaged. So now when we play, no speaker sim. Now we go to our computer. The main IR loader I use is Bias FX from Positive Grid. And if you go and you pull up the speakers, I have all my IRs loaded in here. Right now I'm going through the round channel, so let's give it the Bassman IR 4x10. So right now we have the round channel, which is based on the Fender Deluxe. Going into the Joyo Vision, I got some chorus on there, kind of a long delay with a lot of feedback. Going into a spring reverb of the Flint. So now you have basically your mock FX loop, right? This is just acting as a preamp, right? The Strymon Iridium is only in preamp mode. The IR is turned off. So you need to put an IR on the end of that to make it actually sound like an amp, because this is what it sounds like without. Very raw, very kind of just like distorted. The IR, when you turn it back on, now what I normally do, I usually just have the spring reverb on. Strymon Iridium doesn't come with reverb built in. That's another big complaint that it has. This is an easy way to add reverb to it and still kind of remain faithful to what the sound would be, because in a normal Fender style amp, the reverb is built into the circuit. And so the reverb signal is added prior to it escaping the amp, right? You wouldn't add a spring reverb in post, usually as like a plate or a hull. So here's how easy it is to load IRs. Go all the way down, add folder, Princeton, create. We import. You find your IRs, highlight all of them, add them, and there we go. Simple as that. And now you can select through each one. So that's pretty simple. So that's one way to add a fake effects loop, right? I'll show you one more way. Hold on. So we turn the Iridium to IR mode. It's only loading an IR, nothing else, no preamp, no tone. So right now the Revival trim is acting as a preamp, and it's going through a modulation and ending with the Strymon Iridium as an IR. Let's do a short delay. I don't really do a lot of modulation. I don't do a lot of delay in my playing. But if I did, this is probably how I do it if I had to do it live. But if I had to do it in the studio, loading up Bias FX, it's really just so simple, right? have it. There's 2 ways to trick yourself into thinking you have an effects loop with your Strymon Iridium or other modelers that don't have an effects loop. You might want to know more about the Strymon Iridium, and you're in luck. I have a playlist right here. All the Strymon Iridium videos I've ever done. Lucky you.